Hattie and I am back with another speed build. So this time we're going to be building a futuristic home. This house, I decided to build it because I did an eco home a really long time ago and it got some amazing feedback, and I thought that I would take it another step further and I would do a future home. So this is the carry on of eco home, I think. This is the matching home. So eco home was all about trees and living in the forest, and it was just a very eco-friendly home all in all. But this house would be what I would imagine to be a futuristic suburban home. Now, I really don't know what houses are going to look like in 100 years, 150 years. I have no idea. But if I was going to guess, I would say that the homes which will be around by then will probably be made out of more recyclable material. I think I said it right. So that's what I'd imagine. And I think that a lot of places are becoming more aware of the environment. And I've noticed that in Germany, especially at the moment, they're very big on recycling where I live. So I live near Cologne, and what happens is you get money back at the supermarkets if you give your bottles back. So if you have any plastic bottles and you finish with them, then you can give them back and you will get rewarded with some money, but it won't be a lot of money. It will only be like a couple of pounds or a couple of euros. So it's not a lot, but it's enough to make you want to go back and make a difference. And I thought maybe take it another step further and do a whole house in that sort of style. So maybe I would be more careful with the colours that I used, and I would want this house to look as if it has been made out of recycled materials. So I would imagine that when you see the roofing, it's going to look a little bit like a recycled tyre, or at least that's what I'd imagine, and mixed with maybe some metal, things like that, just in various places in the build. And it would really be about building up the community and helping the planet and just being an overall better place. So there are lots and lots of places in this home to grow plants. So if you have a gardener living here, then there are plenty of places in the back where you can grow crops. I think it's crops, I don't know what you can have in the Sims for. Tomato trees, all the rest of it, you can grow them because I put loads and loads of plant pots in the back garden and also in the front garden. So lots of places. There isn't actually that much landscaping, so unlike Eco Home, where I did a lot of it all over the build, I think that this home is different because I didn't use a lot of it, and I didn't want this house to look as if I built it. I didn't want it to look like every single one of my Tudor homes or my suburban houses. I wanted this to be unique, and I think that I did that. I have been trying recently to go out my comfort zone and be more diverse, but sometimes it's difficult, especially when I really enjoy a style, to be able to do that. But I thought with this home, that's what I do for today. So it didn't take me long. It took me 30 minutes to build, so I didn't spend that long in it, but in actual fact, I put a lot of effort into it because even though it was only 30 minutes, it was a lot of time for me to think about what I would actually appreciate the build to have. And I'm faster at building now anyway, so even though 30 minutes might not sound like a very long time, it might sound as if I rushed it a bit. I honestly don't think that it is, because it didn't take me too long, but I think in that I did put in all the details that I'd want to be in there, and I did look at a lot of inspiration pictures before. In fact, one of the inspiration places that I looked at was an old game that I used to play. I used to play a game called Jack and Dexter, and it was on the PlayStation 2. And the first game of Jack and Dexter, I think it was the first game, was basically set in a really beautiful world, lots of tiki houses, lots of palm trees, and just a beautiful atmosphere to explore. Then the second game came out, which was all about Jack waking up in the future. He was the main character. And he woke up in the future and it was completely different to the first game, and everything changed. There were hoverboards, there were houses which just looked really industrially, I think that's what it's called. But yeah, so it was just a very different environment to the first game, and that's where I got a lot of inspiration from, because I was looking at pictures of the game and how on some parts of the world on the game, it just had lots and lots of different features, and it was more of a modern steampunk world. Even though it's not going to be completely accurate to this, this is just where I got my inspiration from. And I think that this is definitely a prettier version of what is in the game, because The Sims is beautiful as it is. There's not much that I can do to make The Sims ever look ugly, because it's just such a pretty game, The Sims 4, and that's why I build a lot. And I tend to build pretty houses because I think that that is just the easiest thing to do on The Sims 4. But this is a more practical house, so even though it doesn't look anything like the industrial homes that you would probably see on Jack 2, I thought that this home would be maybe inspired by it, and I did. I got really inspired by it, so that is where I got my inspiration from. What I was doing here is I was putting around some windows. I think that these windows would have blinds or maybe just metal bolts in. I'm not exactly sure why. I just thought that they gave something to the style and it gave some depth to it, and I thought they looked really good. I definitely describe the build as a more steampunk look. Even though it's modern steampunk, it's not this sort of traditional steampunk style that you will see. In fact, I have got a steampunk build coming up on my channel really soon, so that's going to be for my next film series build, and you will see that. It's a very unusual castle, so that should be pretty interesting if you stick around for that. This was a basement floor, so I've never done one of these before, and I was trying some new ideas out at the front, and I really liked it. So you could put some plants down here and you could grow some things, and that could just be an overall fun area to have. And that could also be a practical area, so that when it rains, the rainwater would stay down there. That's where you would collect it, and it would naturally shield the plants. I don't know. I mean, that's just what I would say that it was for, and that's what I was thinking a lot about at that point, so I think that's quite an interesting way to look at it. And this was the only landscaping that I really put around the build, so I just put some hedges at the front, mainly because I wanted something there just for decoration and I wasn't sure what else to put. I also thought that it would be practical to put maybe minimal landscaping there, so not a lot. And most of it would just be for the big trees or trees that looked like they were growing. So didn't use a lot of big trees in this build. So a lot of the trees that you will see in the back as well were just very thin stalked trees. And I thought that that would be a good look, mainly because I wanted this build to look as if it was still in progress and they were still fixing the back of it and it wasn't completely finished yet. So I think that's really nice to do, and I haven't done that before. The garden didn't have a pool in. I always put pools in my garden, and I always fill my gardens up with nice little pretty bushes and things like that, things for children, but this home was very different. There's a lot of places to grow plants here, and I wanted that because maybe the family would have this home being the only source of food, so they wouldn't have to leave the home and they could grow all their natural plants here at the house, and that would mean that they wouldn't have to go out anywhere and they'd be reliable for whatever they eat, and that would just be a really unusual way of looking at it. And that was the end of the build. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all for part 2. Thank you so much for watching, and I will speak to you all soon.